American Red Cross Real Heroes Breakfast. I'm Jason Weinstein, executive producer and anchor at Fox 40 WICZ TV here in Binghamton, and I'll be your master of ceremonies for today's breakfast. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as we welcome our Red Cross family, American Red Cross volunteers and staff. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is my privilege to welcome you to the 4th Annual American Red Cross Real Heroes Breakfast for the Southern Tier Chapter. I'm honored to be part of this event celebrating the heroes in our community and the service of the American Red Cross. During the past year, American Red Cross volunteers and staff have responded hundreds of times to all who depend on them to meet their emergency needs. They shelter, feed, and care for us, our families, our friends, and our neighbors. Today we celebrate the mission of the Red Cross and the residents of our community who do such dedicated work. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to join me in expressing our thanks to the volunteers and staff of the American Red Cross. I would like to welcome Stephanie Blodgett to the podium.
Good morning. Oh, that was better. I'm Stephanie Blodgett, Chair of the Southern Tier. Sorry, I'm a little shorter. Chair of the Southern Tier Chapter Board of Directors. On behalf of the American Red Cross, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming all of you to the 4th Annual Real Heroes Breakfast. Joining us on the stage this morning are Shelley Bierweiler, Community Chapter Executive of the Southern Tier Chapter, our special guest, Maureen Harrington O'Neill, who will share her Red Cross story with you later this morning. Our honored guest speaker, Jay Price from Manasquan, New Jersey, a volunteer firefighter and Superstorm Sandy hero who will share his amazing story with you also later in the program. And Chaplain Timothy Miller of the 204th Engineer Battalion, New York Army National Guard. We would also like to welcome our friends and colleagues from our neighboring Red Cross chapters and the New York Penn Blood region who have traveled here this morning to share in this celebration. Thank you all for coming.
Sorry about that. We would also want to extend, as we fix things up here, our deepest appreciation to Huckabone Media Services, the premier sponsor of today's breakfast. And all of our award sponsors, media sponsors, corporate sponsors, and individual table sponsors whose support fuels the Red Cross services in our community. These friends are listed in your program. Now, many people are involved in the success of this 4th annual American Red Cross Real Heroes Breakfast. We thank each and every one of you for your hard work and support. Now I am pleased to introduce our Community Chapter Executive, Shelley Beerweiler.
Thank you, Jason. Well, good morning, and welcome to the 4th Annual Real Heroes Breakfast. It's a little early. I would like to extend my sincere thanks again to our premier sponsor, Huckabone Media Services, and all of our event sponsors, board members, volunteers, and staff who have made this event possible. Every day, the American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of our donors. This is done through the simple yet powerful process of one person putting their needs aside to help another. Across the nation, there are over 500,000 Red Cross volunteers, and we are proud to say we have over 400 residing here in the southern tier. These volunteers contribute their time and energies to assist those in need each and every day around the clock. For this we say thank you. You are truly our heroes. Now all day, every day, our donors and volunteers are responding to those in need here at home and across the nation as well. And as Superstorm Sandy was rolling in this past fall, as you can imagine, all of us were just a little bit nervous, and I can assure you that all of our volunteers were on standby and ready to go in the event that Sandy came our way. And then I was proud to say that as we were cleared from the path of Sandy, our volunteers packed up everything that they had going here, and they headed south and east to help our neighbors. And I'm really proud to say that we have a wonderful group of volunteers that are heroes to us every day. Now, every day across the nation, every 8 minutes, the Red Cross responds to a community disaster. 380 military families receive emergency assistance each and every day. 6,000 times a day, someone receives a Red Cross blood transfusion. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, over 500,000 volunteers make all of this work possible. Although we did not experience a Lear and Irene this past year, we continue to provide these valuable Red Cross services in our communities. Our reach is wide because of heroes like you, helping to keep the mission of the Red Cross alive. Thank you all for making the work of the American Red Cross possible. And join us and enjoy your morning and help us to celebrate honoring our heroes.
Thank you, Shelley. Please rise for the presentation of the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing and welcome the American Red Cross Real Heroes of 2013. At this time, I would like to introduce Chaplain Timothy Miller of the 204th Engineer Battalion, New York Army National Guard, for our invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty God, maker of the universe, creator of humankind and sustainer of life, we come before you today with excitement in our hearts and thanksgiving for this opportunity to thank and honor the real heroes of the southern tier of New York that we have before us today. These heroes have relied on their strength, wisdom, and opportunity to show their skills, bravery, and nobility in the saving of lives. As we listen to the stories and give praise to the heroes, let us be reminded of the courage that is required to save lives. Sustainer of life, prepare our hearts to be challenged to do the same when the circumstances are presented to us, and encourage us to continue to give honor to the real heroes of the future. We thank you for providing them, many of them, the opportunity to show the heroic character that these heroes exhibit. As the God who is the protector of life, I ask you now to continue to provide these heroes with the ability to continually think of others and provide true love in the form of selfless sacrifice for other people. May we continue to enjoy their company, and may you provide them with grace and mercy. We pray these things in the name of the one who is the rock. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. We'll soon hear more about each of today's honorees, but first, let's enjoy our breakfast. We'll start the awards presentation shortly. Also, we'd like to thank Red Cross volunteers Chuck Hunt and Rebecca McManus for taking pictures of our heroes today. Paul Sweeney, our extraordinary bagpiper from Broome County Celtic Pipes and Drums, and the color guard from the 204th Engineer Battalion, New York Army National Guard. We are going to start this morning with a very special hero that's not used to being around this many people. So we're going to let him go first so he can get back to doing what he does best, using his nose to save lives. The Real Hero Animal Rescue Award is presented to a family pet, service animal, or canine that was instrumental in saving a life. This year's Animal Rescue Award recipient is Avar, with his handler, Deputy Leon Brown. Presenting the award is Gene Levinson, President of Century Alarms. Would Deputy Brown, Avar, and Gene Levinson please come to the podium as we watch Avar's story.
I've been working with Avar for 4 years. He's been my only dog. And working with the Dutch Shepherd is great. They're great dogs. It's a great partner. He's very excited to work. He's very willing to work. He's always ready to come out and do what he needs to do. But he's also a lot of fun. He likes to get out of the car and have fun, play with the ball. But he's also ready to work and go find a bad guy if need be, or go find someone that needs help. He's a valuable member to our canine program because he loves to work, and that's the big thing with the canines is we need the dog to want to work. He knows he's working, he knows he's doing his job, and it's very rewarding to him and to myself. He's a dual-purpose dog at the Sheriff's Office, and what that means is he's trained in a couple different things. He's considered an explosive scent detection dog, and he's also a police patrol dog. On July 24th, 2012, early evening, it was a little hot outside, and I received a call to go to the area of Pigeon Hill Road in the town of Fenton, and it was a report of an elderly female who was lost in the woods. She was out to walk the trails out in State Park, and she just got lost and needed help. When I got there, we knew about, she was able to tell us, she had a cell phone, she was able to tell the 911 dispatch center about what area she was in, and so I had a general idea of which end of the park to go to. And what I did was, when I got Avar out of the car, and we did an area search for her. What Avar does on an area search is he does a search pattern in the open area, whether it's a wooded area or an urban area, whatever the case, until he picks up human scent. And once he picks up the human scent, he narrows it down, and he just keeps following the strongest part of the scent, and that's what he did. We were able to find Roberta. She was fine, and we just escorted her out of the park, out of the woods, and back to her car where she was safe and sound.
On behalf of the people of Century Alarms, it is my honor to present the 2013 Red Cross Animal Hero Award to Avar and his handler, Deputy Leon Brown of the Broome County Sheriff's Department. Last July, it was finding a woman who was lost in the woods, but on any given day, Avar might well be searching for explosives, or, as was the case with another police dog, Abe, who made the ultimate sacrifice in Herkimer earlier this year. Avar might be charged with being the first officer into a building when a madman decided to hold a town hostage. Avar is that brave. Thank you, Avar. Thank you, Deputy Brown, for the respect, training, and love you provide this animal. Your community salutes you.
Well, at a hospital, the cafeteria usually provides a reprieve from the life and death circumstances throughout the rest of the building. But one day at UHS Shenango Memorial Hospital, the cafeteria became the place where our next hero used her skills to save a co-worker's life. The Real Heroes Adult Good Samaritan Award is presented to an ordinary citizen who used life-saving skills to save the life of another. This year, we are pleased to honor Becky Yacano as the recipient of this award. Presenting the award is Lindsay Meehan, Director of Marketing and Communications from Rapido Energy Products. Would Becky and Lindsay join me at the podium while we watch the screen?
My name is Becky Yacano. I'm the supervisor for respiratory therapy at Shenango Memorial Hospital. I've worked there for 24 years. I've been teaching the CPR classes at Shenango Memorial for the last 5 or 6 years. We talk about, the universal choking sign, which is where the person does this when they're choking. And sometimes I've found that people actually don't do that. On November 1st, a coworker and myself, Stephanie, had gone to lunch early. We usually go at noon, and for some reason that day we decided to go down about 11:30. And when we got there, the cafeteria was very empty. There was one other employee and his coworker sitting at a table a couple spots down from us. And, it was a typical sitting around just chit-chatting, and I looked over and noticed that he had started to just look a little different. Things just weren't quite right. I just said to Stephanie, something's not right. And I stood up and went over and I said, Jody, are you choking? And he said, didn't make any sound. And I said, oh my God. So I immediately got behind him, started to do the Heimlich. I yelled to Stephanie to go call code, which she went right to the phone in the cafeteria. Wendy got up to help, and I just started doing the Heimlich behind him. And I kept saying, is it out yet? Is it out yet? And he'd shake his head no, and we'd go through the motions again. And I'd say it seemed like forever, but it was probably only about 30 seconds. And finally I said, is it out yet? And he was able to say yes. So he sat down, I sat down, we were all shaking, did not want to finish his lunch, which we were more than understanding of that. And I just kind of went back to the table and sat down because I didn't want him to be any more embarrassed than he obviously was. And then later, the next time I had gone into the cafeteria, a whole table of his coworkers stood up and applauded me, which made me very embarrassed, but it was very nice. But it was very scary at the time, but I'm glad that I was there and that it kind of worked out the way that it did. There wasn't a big scene, there weren't a lot of people there, so it was good to have it be done.
Becky told me a story before this began, so I'll share it real quickly. Her and her college friends were in a situation similar to this, where somebody nearby was choking way back in their college days, and they all sat there and said, gosh, I hope someone helps. And she said, somebody did, don't worry. But and she emailed her friends after this happened and said, well, I redeemed us. I did it this time. So, you certainly did. The definition of a good Samaritan is somebody who voluntarily offers help when somebody else nearby needs it. And she certainly did that. I admire her for using the skills that she has, and also she teaches them. So nobody better to teach them than somebody who can actually perform. So on behalf of Rapido Energy Products and the Rapido family, we're very proud to present this award to Becky. Congratulations.
The Real Heroes Blood Donor Award is presented to an individual who has contributed an outstanding amount of blood to the American Red Cross. The Southern Tier chapter is proud to announce that this year's honoree is Earl Westerland of Binghamton, who has donated about 350 units of blood since the mid-1970s. Presenting this year's award is John Lee, General Manager and my colleague at Fox 40, in Binghamton, and Mitch Gordon, Major's National Sales Manager for the Central New York Media Group, which includes the Binghamton Press and Sun Bulletin. Would Earl Westerland, John Lee, and Mitch Gordon join me at the podium as we watch Earl's video.
I'm Earl Westerland. I live in Binghamton. I started giving blood as a student at RIT in the mid-70s, and I am currently donating whole blood, so I go in every 8 weeks and donate. I'm not aware of any friends or family who have needed blood. I donate because I can and because it's easy to do, and if friends or family benefit also, then so much the better. I'm told that I've donated 345 units of blood, and that just makes me feel old because that means that I've been doing it for a long time. To know blood that I've donated has helped save lives and otherwise help countless people is just mind-boggling. If somebody told you that you could save somebody's life, would you do it? And then if somebody told you that you could save that life in 20 minutes, would you do it? Something as simple as going into a room, lying down on a couch and spending 20 minutes donating blood can have such an impact on somebody else's life. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it.
Earl, on behalf of the Gannett Company and our Press and Sun Bulletin media employees, we are proud to honor you for your devotion to 4 decades of blood donations. It's a true testament to your commitment to help others. Gannett's corporate mission statement in part reads, "Our purpose is to serve the greater good of our nation and the communities we serve." Earl, you certainly exemplify an individual who serves the greater good of our communities, and we thank you for that. Here's hoping that your commitment to giving inspires others to serve the greater good of our communities as well. Congratulations.
Earl, on behalf of Fox 40 and My 8, we're very proud to present you this award for over 40 years of service. You know that 40 has a nice ring to it. But seriously, over 350 units of blood, that's an incredible accomplishment. And we're all very proud of you here too. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Earl. Our next hero is a deputy with the Broome County Sheriff's Office. So he has experience with unusual situations, but on this day, even Deputy Daniel Thomas had to be surprised when he went into a CVS store to buy Clorox wipes and ended up saving a man's life. The Real Heroes Good Neighbor Award is presented to an ordinary citizen or professional rescuer involved in rescuing a person from a life-threatening situation. And this year, we are pleased to present the award to Deputy Thomas. Presenting the Good Neighbor Award is Bob Huckabone, President of Huckabone Media Services. Would Deputy Daniel Thomas and Bob Huckabone join me at the podium while we take a look at the screen.
My name is Deputy Thomas from the Broome County Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 15 years. On February 12th, 2013, I was on patrol. I stopped into the CVS on Upper Front Street to buy a box of Clorox wipes to decontaminate my car. A 73-year-old man came running in, said something about being diabetic, and fell to his knees. I guided him to the floor so he wouldn't hit his head, and thank God he had said something about being diabetic. And I asked the employee, don't they have some sort of diabetic glucose drinks? And she said yes. Clerk named Teresa Falchek went and got it, and I tried to wake him up, and he was unresponsive. I did a sternum rub on him, and he opened his eyes, and I told him I had some glucose for him, and asked him if he could open his mouth. He opened his mouth, and I poured it in little bit by little bit, and he swallowed it. And after a few minutes, you could see him come back amazingly quick from being nearly unconscious to being able to talk and tell us the story. His name was Dale Johnson. He was 73 years old, from Goose Creek, South Carolina. A few minutes later, I was in my car, and I ran the plate, and he came back as a missing and endangered person out of South Carolina. And apparently he had left home without telling any of his family and didn't take any of his medicine. So we were able to let his family know that where he was and that he was safe, and you know, send him to the hospital and get his body chemistry back up to speed. As far as being a hero, every police officer in the United States every day risks his life several times and does things like this every day. You know, every police officer is a hero. I just did my job, and just like everybody else.
Nice story, Dan. Thanks and congratulations for the quick thinking and heroic response. Huckabone Services, formerly known as Huckabone Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Water Treatment, Generators, Drain Cleaning, is very proud to be a premier sponsor of such an amazing feel-good event. Huckabone partnered with the Red Cross 3 years ago to help get their message of preparedness out to the community. Since we are in hundreds of homes each year, my staff takes some time talking to homeowners about what to do in the event of a disaster. The message of get a kit, make a plan, and be informed is conveyed to all our customers, and hopefully that has helped some of our residents, especially in the past few years. Our partnership with the Red Cross also works well for me because I'm proud of the work that they do, and that Huckabone Services is associated with the most recognizable symbol in the world. So I'm glad to be here. Dan, thanks for your efforts. And you know, there is a common denominator to all these heroes. Everyone seems to say, you know what, I didn't do anything heroic at the time, I just did what had to be done. And but stepping up to the plate and making it happen makes all the difference. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Deputy. Well, most of the time, our days at work are uneventful and routine, but then an accident occurs or a coworker needs emergency assistance, and then we all wish we had someone like Michelle Day on our team. The Real Heroes Industrial Safety Award is presented to a business owner, manager, or employee whose preparedness or life-saving actions exemplify the very highest standards of their calling. This year's honoree is Michelle Day from the Raymond Corporation in Green. This year's Industrial Safety Award is sponsored by Clear Channel Media and Entertainment and Time Warner Cable. Presenting the award is Tom Barney, Vice President and Market Manager for Clear Channel, with Michelle Day and Tom Barney joining me at the podium while we take a look at the video.
My name is Michelle Day. I'm a critical care EMT, and I currently work at the Raymond Corporation in Green, New York, and I'm the scheduler for the Muscatine plant. My motivation to become an emergency medical technician, currently at the critical care level, was my father, George Day, and he is currently a registered nurse and has been a critical care nurse for the past 30 years. And he's been a firefighter for the past 35 years, and he was a EMT critical care for the past 25 years. So he has inspired me to become a critical care EMT and to continue in that field as well. And he was also an CPR instructor prior to me becoming a CPR instructor, so it's kind of a family business. Well, I think for people that are emergency responders, the first thing is there's certain personality types that are more conducive to that line of work, and I think being able to stay calm in an emergent situation is one of those things. And ways that I do that is I try to think about all the different scenarios that might occur and how we would handle, or I personally would handle each one in the treatment of a patient. And we also rely on our training to do some of that, and some of that confidence also comes with experience and with just putting the patient first and doing the best that we can to take care of them. Well, I think in order to teach, you certainly have to have a very good understanding of it yourself, and certainly the more experience you have makes you a better instructor. I think that everybody has the ability to be a hero, and that it's important to
put forth the training and the experience that we have and to help one another in any way that we can possible. And today I might be able to help somebody in an emergent situation, but tomorrow I could be the patient and somebody else would come and help me. So I think it's important that we help one another.
Thank you, and good morning. First of all, I'd like to say about the American Red Cross, my respect for the Red Cross goes back many years to the time I was in the Army back in the 60s, and I saw all that the Red Cross did for the military families and the young men and women who were overseas. So I've always had great respect for the Red Cross, and now today I get to salute this young lady who trains all the EMTs and different businesses to keep people safe. And I'm happy to say that I've yet to need the fire department or police department, but in the last 10 years, I've personally needed the services of an EMT, and one time it was actually life-saving. So I'm very proud on behalf of Clear Channel Media and Entertainment to present this award to Michelle Day. Congratulations, Michelle. Our next hero should get a special award just for doing her day job, driving a school bus. But even with a stressful job like that, Robin Shaver spends most of her nights and weekends serving her community as the squad chief for Berkshire Emergency Medical Services. Robin is this year's recipient of the Real Heroes Medical Award, which is presented to a medical professional, an organization, or an ordinary citizen whose life-saving actions go above and beyond the call of duty. Presenting the medical award is Melissa Klinko, Regional Communications and Media Relations Manager of Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield. Would Robin Shaver and Melissa Klinko please join me at the podium while we watch Robin's video.
My name is Robin Shaver. I'm the Chief of the Emergency Squad of Berkshire EMS Incorporated. I also drive school bus during the day. That's my full-time job. No, basically, God led me to this. There's no other way to describe it. I just love taking care of people. I didn't plan on it being a full-time obligation. I thought it was going to be part-time when I first started. But then I ended up being chief and everything changed. Myself, I cover from 4:30 until midnight just about every night of the week. And the weekends I start at 4:30 and go right straight through to Sunday, actually Monday morning at midnight as well. I don't think any of us see ourselves as heroes in this business that we do. We just see ourselves as taking care of those that are in need. Do I go beyond? Absolutely. Do I go to the extent where I'm not supposed to? Probably yes, but it's all for the benefit of their health and their well-being. Recently we had a woman with a brain bleed and we weren't sure if she was going to make it or not, and by the time we got her to the hospital she was stable, and we saw her the other day and she thanked us for saving her life. And yeah, it made us cry, but it was okay. It's just something I've always wanted to do.
Good morning. When I met Robin today, it was really enlightening. She is a vivacious, outgoing person. I know some of her colleagues are here today and they can echo that sentiment. What resonated with me was that she said, there really is no hero in the EMS department, it's part of a team. And that is really, I think, what a hero is about, recognizing the others around you. This morning, I am very pleased to present Robin Shaver with the 2013 Medical Red Cross Award. On behalf of Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield, thank you for being here.
Congratulations, Robin. More hero Hero Awards are still to come, but this time I am pleased to introduce a dedicated Red Crosser to tell you about our very special guest today. Please welcome back Shelley Beerweiler, Community Chapter Executive for the American Red Cross Southern Tier Chapter.
We're privileged this morning to welcome Jay Price, a high school teacher, football coach, a volunteer firefighter, and a devoted husband and dad, a true definition of a real hero. Last October, when Superstorm Sandy pummeled the East Coast, Jay and his team of firefighters and first responders braved pelting rain, chest-deep water, and 60-mile-an-hour winds to rescue dozens of people who were trapped in their homes by the rushing floodwaters in Jay's hometown of Manasquan, New Jersey. Jay, not James. As a football coach, Jay tells his players that their team is a family, and when they're down, they've got to look each other in the huddle and pick each other up. That's what Jay, his fellow firefighters, and his football players did for Manasquan after Superstorm Sandy. Jay has come from New Jersey to share his story with us today. It is my distinct honor to introduce you to Jay Price.
Good morning. Good morning. All right. After agreeing to speak here today and talking to Susan and Shelley, I've spent excuse me, the last couple of weeks trying to figure out what I could say to the one or two of you that who might be listening that might stick with you for longer than the few minutes that I'm speaking up here. The first thing that I've come to know after reading a lot of these stories and seeing these videos is I'm no hero. After reading Dan Galvin's story and Demetrius Colvin's story, I know them in the presence of heroes today, and it's kind of awe-inspiring. I'm just a teacher and a coach who left home yesterday as dad, and I get to live a lifelong dream of being a fireman. In September of this past year, our company celebrated its 125th anniversary. The older guys during that day talked a lot about the history of our department and the fire service as well. Our company has seen the evolution of man-drawn to horse-drawn to motorized apparatus. Ladders have grown from 12 feet of wooden rungs to 95-foot towers of steel, and firefighters who once donned raincoats to enter burning buildings holding an axe as well as their breath now wear bunker gear and SCBA. As that celebration grew, however, the stories began to emerge. Audiences were entertained with answers of calls from the mundane to the historic. Newspaper clippings were read aloud about our response to the Hindenburg disaster, the wreck of the Morrow Castle in Asbury Park, and the famous Stockton Hotel fire, famous in our area anyway, as the glow was seen apparently from New York and Atlantic City, over 35 miles away. Our members had relieved Asbury Park firefighters during the riots of the 1960s and saw the United States Navy drop in when a pilot ejected from his burning A-6 Skyhawk to have it crash on our main street. There was even discussion about our response the previous year to Hurricane Irene. Ironically, Irene would serve as a warm-up for her bigger sister, Sandy. The Weather Service, that's a picture of Sandy from the previous year, Irene. The Weather Service had told us that fall that Sandy would bring 9 inches of rain, that the tidal surge might be as high as 10 feet, and that winds would peak at 80 miles an hour. Ironically, just a year before, students from Princeton University and MIT had published a report predicting an apocalyptic storm surge for lower Manhattan, and that people in the tri-state area should be prepared for a worst-case scenario. They were almost right. They just underestimated Sandy. When she arrived, she was nearly 1,000 miles wide, dumping over a foot of rain with winds peaking at 90 miles an hour. The battery in lower Manhattan recorded a tidal surge of 13.88 feet, breaking a 52-year record of 11.2. Tidal gauges at Sandy Hook stopped working at 13.5 feet, so we'll never know how high the water was when it hit Monmouth Beach. Atlantic City recorded its lowest barometric pressure reading in its history, signaling that Sandy was a storm that we had never dealt with. In the days leading up to Sandy's arrival, thousands of first responders across the tri-state area had been hard at work securing our towns and getting people out of harm's way. When night fell and the tides rose, I was in the back of a canvas-covered water truck with some of my brothers. Behind the wheel sat a school bus driver. Next to him was a financial analyst. In the back, I sat next to a screen printer. Across from us sat my actual brother Sean, and next to him a computer graphics designer. Driving our sister truck across town was a retiree, carrying a crew of a pharmacist and 2 beer delivery guys. If you're like us and you're giggling now, it sounds more like a cast of Hangover 3 than a group of first responders. In the academy, and in countless drills to follow, instructors warn against getting tunnel vision, becoming so focused on the task at hand that you lose sight of potential hazards that might cause you to become the victim instead of the rescuer. That night, you couldn't help but be aware that there were too many hazards to focus on any one. Trees were coming down, bringing power lines with them. Fences, sheds, household debris were becoming carried down streets like cars at rush hour. But in each of these trucks, without actually saying it out loud, we were really looking out for each other. I don't think this was coincidence, however. As the sons of sports writers, my real brothers and I grew up all around all kinds of games and athletes. We were around all kinds of teams. Lucky enough on several occasions to find ourselves in locker rooms with Rangers, Yankees, Giants. My father always emphasized to us, as well as those who read his column, that once you got beyond the Sports Center highlights and the multi-million-dollar contracts, these were just men and women playing a game, and that our praise and attention should go to the ones who went about playing that game the right way. The ones who ran everything out, the ones who always played the hardest, who played until the final whistle. His stories weren't limited to professional athletes, however. We learned even more important lessons from the amateurs, the ones who didn't get paid. There was Rocco Lurie, the former high school track star, who turned down a deferment to go to Vietnam, only to come home and fall to a gang member's bullet while on patrol with the NYPD. Or the story of Captain John Drennan, the father of 4, a high school football coach and teacher who traded his whistle to join the FDNY. A mentor to hundreds of probies in the department, Drennan would give his life physically trying to shield 2 of them from a backdraft in a 1994 blaze in Soho. That said, it should come as no surprise that toward the end of his career, my father was writing about his own son, the middle guy. He traded his second baseman's glove and the diamond at West Point for the throttle of an Apache gunship over Afghanistan's Cornwall Valley. It was stories like these that made my brothers and I learn the importance of service, and that the world of cops, firemen, were filled with the athletes, the kind of athletes that we wanted to be. That's why it shouldn't be surprising that all but the 2 of the 10 guys that made up these teams were Manasquan football players. 5 guys I had played with, 2 that I coached. In the locker room and on the fields, there's a bond that's developed within teams. To me, it's more like a member of a family or a faith. I've since learned this sense of faith and family runs just as deep in the fire service as well as police and first aid squads. That faith that I've found in our coaches and athletes this past season is nothing but inspirational. In the days after the storm, when we had gone down to clean up the debris on the beachfront, I ran home to grab some clean clothes and was stopped in my tracks by a player at the curb outside my house. He was carrying what was left of his possessions in a plastic bag. That was all he was able to take with him. When his family had gotten out of the storm surge, my thoughts turned to our team. Like most throughout the shore, they were scattered across the eastern seaboard. Many evacuated, moved to families west of the coast, and some were staying behind themselves, had been rescued by high water trucks, others by boat, one by a jet ski. The rest of the week seemed like an endless stretch of search and rescue operations, gas leaks, transformer fires, and downed power lines. There was little sleep, and one day seemed to blend into the next. Most of what I remember is eating and sleeping with the National Guardsmen and state troopers who had locked down and patrolled our beachfront to protect people and property from looters who descended almost immediately into our area. The following week, our football team was supposed to be getting ready to play an undefeated team. There was still no power in our town, the school was closed, nobody had heat in their homes. Those who lived near the beachfront weren't even allowed back into their neighborhoods. I'd been asked that morning by our Office of Emergency Management if our guys would be willing to assist in digging out stranded citizens in some of the areas that were most affected by the storm. They were literally trapped by shifting sand. I left the decision entirely up to my players. I knew some were sleeping on the floors of friends' homes. Some would be going home to homes sweaty with no warm showers, and others had no homes to go home to at all. Unanimously, they voted to get into the game. A lot of these kids came from fairly well-to-do homes, and they were pretty pampered. They were among the first civilians to go down to our beachfront areas, and they were stunned by what they saw. The part of the town looked like a war zone. There was an aircraft carrier stationed off the coast, with orange slashes painted on homes that had been checked by firemen during the storm, and X's painted on ones that were uninhabitable. The smell of gas was everywhere. We found out pretty quickly that moving a lot of sand with nothing but shovels was a losing proposition. So the kids started improvising. They found garbage bags, cans, boxes. They borrowed wheelbarrows out of ruined garages and homes, whatever it took. There was one older couple who came to beg for help that day. And when we were almost done clearing the path to their back door, the man pulled me aside and he asked who he had to thank. I told him he didn't have to thank anybody. But these kids were from the Mount Swan football team. He just turned away, he put his hands over his face, and he started to cry. I think it's at that moment when you feel you're so alone and so helpless, you realize that there are people who care. Total strangers who want to help. And there was a lot of that going on all over the area that day. And we watched these boys as they embodied the lessons that we try to teach as teachers and coaches and instill in them every day. They were putting others before themselves, part of a bigger team, part of a bigger game, but the stakes were real. We did this for 2 days, and on the third day, we were hit by a nor'easter that dropped 7 to 8 inches of wet, heavy sand on our area. It was also that day that I received word that our football game would not be postponed due to state playoff restrictions. The team we were supposed to play, we were 5-4 at the time, had a beautiful turf facility that had just been freshly plowed, and they offered to host us. So we took another vote, unanimous again. And on Thursday and Friday, coaches and kids worked by hand to clear our field of the snow, one shovel at a time. It was hard work, but by the time it got dark on Friday night, we were done. But now there was standing water on our field, which, to be honest, really wasn't in great shape beforehand. On Saturday morning, the school superintendent had to decide whether or not we would play a game that day, or if we would go to that team's facility the following day. We couldn't ask our kids to work on game day, so a miracle happened. That morning, I had the coaches show up at 6, and we began spreading quick dry agents on the field. We were joined that morning in mud about 6 inches deep by members of the Board of Education, the police department, the fire department, even the mayor was dirty. The superintendent came at about 8 o'clock, took a look at the mess, and he was about ready to cancel. We had made an impassioned plea that this went beyond a football game. This was for the town. And after everything the kids had done, they had earned a chance to play. With that, he threw up his hands, told me he completely disagreed, but if we felt that strongly about it, he'd be there to root for us. I remember looking up that day during warm-ups, and there were only a few people in the stands. We figured that this was understandable. People were still trying to get about their lives in order, and with everything else they had going on, a lot of them probably didn't even know there was a game. We hadn't played in 3 weeks. We hadn't practiced in full pads for 2, and we spent the last 7 days working 8 hours a day shoveling snow, then sand. But by game time, the stands were packed. People were standing 5 deep around the fence. People who had lost their homes, who had to be rescued from them, were there. To make a long story short, we were down 9-0 going into the fourth quarter. We scored twice in the last 4 minutes and held on to win when everything looked like it might slip away. You never saw so many people hugging and crying in your life. It was as if all the fear and anxiety and the desperation of the previous 2 weeks came out in those last few minutes. In this massive humanity after the game, at one point I was handed a piece of paper by a policeman from Elizabeth, New Jersey. He said he had it hanging in his locker. He credited it to Winston Churchill, and he thought of us when he read his quote, and he wanted our team to have it. It read, "To each man, there comes in his lifetime a special moment when he's figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do a very special thing, unique to him and fitted to his talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds him unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been his finest hour." On October 29th, that special moment didn't just tap us on the shoulder. It kicked the door in. And yet, in that instant, we saw people from all walks of life, professionals, volunteer, fire, police, EMS, from Atlantic City to Breezy Point, answer that call. And while I can only speak for the brothers on my truck and the kids on my team, I know that many others would tell you the same thing about their experiences during Sandy. While we were up against some pretty tough odds, we were all just trying to run everything up, play as hard as we could, and play the final whistle. I'd like to thank the Southern Tier of the Red Cross. I'd like to thank Susan and Shelley for being so good to me, and I'd like to thank all of you for supporting the cause and coming out here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm now pleased to introduce a dedicated Red Cross advocate who will share with you her personal story. Please welcome Maureen Moe Harrington O'Neill, Associate Development Director of the Q Center at AIDS Community Resources in Syracuse.
Jay, you're a tough act to follow. Now, I'm probably sure that you're all looking at me thinking to myself, she did not get the memo that it's dress down Thursday. But I promise there's a story behind this crazy outfit. 20 years ago, while performing in a theater in Birmingham, Alabama, I experienced a flash flood. It had rained very hard for 7 straight days, and without warning, in about 10 minutes flat, I found myself up to my neck in water with my suitcase held over my head. I was walking past lamps that were still plugged in, headed for an actual rescue boat that was sitting outside of the theater. And I thought to myself, with this suitcase over my head, dressed in nothing but a pair of tights and dance shoes, with a little top on, that I was not in a low-budget disaster film. I thought I was in a musical theater production. But as I got loaded off of the boat and I crawled up a literal chain of rescue workers to safety, the last thing I did was turn to look behind me and see my car, which was bobbing away like a little apple just before getting crushed in between a pickup truck and a dumpster. Once I got to safety, I took inventory of everything that was in my suitcase, of everything that I had grabbed. I took the book that I was reading at the time. I took a picture that I had of my mother. There was one floor-length sequined gown and a very nice bottle of Cabernet. As you could well imagine, I was never a Girl Scout. I had no money. I had no car. I had no job. I was underwater. And I was hundreds of miles away from friends and family. And I can tell you personally that what they don't show you on TV, on the nightly news, when you see all of those disasters, that there's a complete sense of hopelessness. There is a complete lack of power, and there is a complete feeling that you are just invisible. Well, after about a week, when the Cabernet was gone, someone suggested to me that I go to the Red Cross. And my first thought, because of course my family are longtime volunteers for the Red Cross, my first thought is I can't go to the Red Cross. I mean, the Red Cross is for people that don't have anything, for people that have nothing. And, well, I still had my beautiful sequin gown. But I can tell you that when you go to the Piggly Wiggly for the third time in a week down in Birmingham, Alabama, wearing a sequin gown, it's time to ask for help. So off to the Red Cross I went. The first thing that they did was they gave me a blanket and they gave me a cup of coffee. And no disrespect to Starbucks, but I do have to say that that was the best cup of coffee that I have ever had, even to this day. They called me by my name. They helped me get ID. And they gave me a $50 gift card from Kmart. Now, I want to tell you what $50 buys at Kmart. It buys a lot. Underwear, toothbrush, toothpaste, a pair of jeans, some t-shirts, a pair of Keds, a towel, a washcloth, and some soap. And more importantly, it buys a whole lot of self-esteem. I am here to tell you from personal experience that it does not take much to change a person's life. In fact, that $50 gift card was less than 14 cents a day. It was $1 a week. And it had an incredible effect on my life. I will never, ever say no to the Red Cross. I am honored to be here, and I really feel like I'm lucky to be alive. The story of how the Red Cross teaches and touches lives like ours, like mine, is repeated thousands of times every year. American Red Cross services are critical to every community and to each and every one of us. Let's take a look at the work of the American Red Cross in action.
We all have a need deep within us. Somewhere between our hands and our heart lives the desire to give of ourselves in a meaningful way, to touch a life, to make a difference, to feel that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. It lives in all of us, this need. It resides within a farmer just as surely as it does a mother or a student. People from all walks of life, in all parts of the country, big cities, small towns, and all stages of life. All of them asking, how can I make a difference? When an emergency strikes, when disaster hits, be it a hurricane or a heart attack, a call for blood or a call for help, that's when the triumphant human spirit rises to the occasion. When people put their need to give into action to help fulfill the needs of people in crisis, it's at that time that their money becomes the blankets wrapped around a family. Their blood goes into the body of a person whose life depends on it. Their day spent in a training seminar saves the life of a stranger who's had a heart attack. To the world, the American Red Cross is the helping hand during times of disaster. But our foundation is made of the millions of individuals who give of their time, their money, and their blood, sweat, and tears. We are simply the vessel through which people are given the opportunity to perform extraordinary acts, the link between need and giving help. We organize, we encourage, but most of all, we empower people who want to know that when they reach out, they can touch others. To know that their desire to make a difference in the world does. Because at the heart of the Red Cross is what lives in the hearts of all of us. The innate desire to help change the life of another, and in the process, change our own.
The miraculous thing is that the American Red Cross services are available to all of us, and they're free to all of us in this community and every community. And they're free because of the generosity of donors just like you and of all of our volunteers. Many of you are here today as guests of corporate sponsors and friends of the American Red Cross, and I thank you very much. But if you would like to add your personal support, there are envelopes on your tables, and I beg you to please reach out and take one and make a donation today. Just take a moment, take a pen, and whatever you can give, every dollar, any dollar, will definitely make a difference. And on a personal note, if you're ever down south in Birmingham, Alabama, and you see a girl in a Piggly Wiggly wearing a sequin gown, just tell her she looks good. And don't look at her funny. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me today. And please, please donate. Thank you.
Thank you to Jane Maureen for being here today. Your stories are truly inspiring. And Maureen, I will never be ashamed of wearing a sequin gown again. Now let us continue with the presentations. When you are a deputy with the Broome County Sheriff's Office, you never know what you're going to find when you are dispatched to the scene. In this case, our next hero found a man pinned under his car, and he needed to act quickly to save his life. The Real Heroes Law Enforcement Award is presented to a law enforcement officer whose life-saving action goes above the call of duty. For 2013, we are pleased to honor Deputy Daniel Balmer of the Broome County Sheriff's Office. Presenting the Law Enforcement Award is Jay Dinka, Director of Business Development and Governmental Relations at Tioga Downs Casino Racing and Entertainment. Would Deputy Balmer and Jay Dinka please come to the podium while we watch the video.
Deputy Balmer of the Broome County Sheriff's Office. You never know what you get being a first responder. However, it wasn't the ordinary call as far as finding a guy trapped and pinned underneath the vehicle. When I arrived, I was the first one on the scene, and it was obvious the guy had this vehicle jacked up, working underneath it, and the car shifted, rolling forward on top of him, pinning him. At that point, all I saw was his feet and the lower portion of his shins, and I yelled out to him. I said, hey bud, it's the sheriff's office, are you with me? And he responded and said, yeah, I'm here, my arms are going numb. It was a reward to hear his voice and say, yeah, I'm here, and it obviously assured me he was alive. And at that point, it was nothing but an adrenaline rush, and the first thing that comes to mind is I have to find the jack and get the car off the guy here. And that's what I kind of focused on, and it was more or less tunnel vision. Underneath the front of the vehicle, I located another portion of a jack. There's another floor jack, actually, and I grabbed that floor jack. It was on wheels, and the handle to that jack was near the guy's head and arms and hands, and I just asked him to nudge the handle to me. I was fortunate enough, my father did body work when I was a kid growing up, so I was always around cars and working on the cars with my father, and I have some basic knowledge with the basic car tools and how to work on cars, so that definitely helped. And I finished jacking the car up, and Detective Sergeant Ellis ended up grabbing the guy by his ankles and pulling him out from underneath the car. Fortunately, he survived, and no major injuries that I'm aware of. It was a very rewarding call, actually, with the guy coming out alive, and it makes you feel good about the type of work that we do and how we could serve the public.
I take pride in working for a company whose ownership and management team emphasizes to its employees the value of being a strong community partner and donates its resources and the time and energy of its employees during times of natural disasters and other community crises. Therefore, on behalf of Jeffrey Gorell, the owner and CEO of American Racing and Entertainment, it is with great enthusiasm that Tioga Downs participates in honoring Deputy County Sheriff Daniel Ballmer and in presenting to him this 2013 award for law enforcement.
Congratulations, Deputy. Well, imagine this scenario. You're an elementary school guidance counselor holding your lunchtime group and one of your students starts choking on her lunch. Would you know exactly what to do? Well, fortunately, this guidance counselor knew exactly what to do to save the young girl's life. The Real Heroes Educator Award is presented to an educator who used life-saving training to save the life of another person. This year's recipient of the Educator Award is Nancy Millen. Presenting the Educator Award is Amal Rai, Site Executive of BAE Systems. Accepting the award on behalf of Nancy is Jim Stracuzzi, President and CEO of National Bank of Delaware County. Would Amar and Jim please join me at the podium as we watch Nancy's story.
I was doing a group, it was for first graders. They were eating lunch in my room when I noticed a little girl. She didn't look good, so I asked her if everything was okay, and she shook her head no. I sent the 3 other little kids out of the room, and I asked if she could clear her mouth, and she couldn't. Her whole mouth was filled with spaghetti. I tried taking the spaghetti out. Meanwhile, I'm yelling for our nurse. I didn't know where she was or how long she would take, so I figured I had to do something. I tried to clear her mouth, and she still couldn't breathe, and so I just got up, and I just went around her, and I did what I had to do. It appeared to be, longer than what it really took. I think anyone that would be in that situation would do the same thing. Being in my position, you have to have calm because I deal with a lot of stressful crisis interventions here, as a counselor, with kids. So you have to be calm.
Good morning. As a parent, having 2 kids who just recently finished high school, it's always good to know that we have educators out there and folks out there that when those kind of situations arise, they can rise to the occasion and ultimately, right in this case, save the life of a child who we hope one day at BAE Systems is going to be a future employee of ours, right? So I mean, the thing is that it's really, we're here to salute, and the stories today from everyone, just unbelievable acts of responsibility and ownership and just being able to respond to those situations. So we're very proud of Nancy. We're, on behalf of the employees at BAE Systems here now in Endicott, New York, we thank Nancy, we thank the Red Cross for hosting this event, and we're a proud sponsor of the Educator Award. So thanks.
Our next hero became a volunteer firefighter when he was 16 years old. Although he lost his father to a fire in 2003, and one of his best friends died in a fire this past January, he continues to answer the call whenever his community is in need. The Real Heroes Fire Rescue Award is presented to a firefighter whose life-saving actions exemplify the very highest standards of his calling. And we are extremely honored to present this year's Fire Rescue Award to Dan Gavin of the Wego Volunteer Fire Department. Presenting the Fire Rescue Award is Jeremy Robinson, Senior Vice President of Marketing for New York Central Mutual Insurance, and Stephanie Blodgett, President of Ad Elements Advertising Agency. With Dan Gavin, Jeremy Robinson, and Stephanie Blodgett, please join me at the podium while we watch Dan's story.
I'm Daniel Gavin. I'm from Owego, New York. Being a firefighter, it runs in my family. I was pretty much 100% into the volunteer firefighter. I was watching my father, my grandfather, the activities they performed and how they helped out the community, and what they did always drove me from when I was a small child. In 2003, I was fighting a lumberyard fire with my father for a mutual aid department, and in that process of fighting that fire, my father died of a heart attack. After that fire, it only drove me more to be more active in the fire service. During the last few floods was a very hard time on myself and our community, surrounding community. Not only was my house flooded, but also that of my mother's. And as a sheriff's deputy, I was trying to work through being a volunteer fireman and a sheriff's deputy and concerned about my mother's home and my home. So it took a lot of dedication and time to take care of all those aspects and still provide an adequate service to the community who also needed my assistance. I pretty much was on the what we refer to as Turtle Town in Owego with my own boat, checking the neighbors and whatnot, while the water rescue boats in our community and other communities were here assisting other parts of town. Back in January of this year, I responded to a house fire in a mutual aid district of North Valley with 2 other members of the Owego Fire Department. When Captain Matt Picard and myself entered the structure, North Valley, the interior attack from North Valley exited the structure. We took over from where they left off, advancing a hose line in the first floor, knocking down the fire that we could see visibly and checking for fire extension. While we were checking for fire extension, we had the fire, in my opinion, pretty well suppressed on the first floor, and there was a crew working in the basement, so we were checking for extension. And in the progress of checking for that extension, the first floor broke, causing Captain Matt Picard and myself to fall into the basement. Captain Matt Picard died as a result of us falling through the first floor into the basement. And as I reflect back on Matt and his life, I can remember as a child, he was the same age as my oldest brother, and they grew up together. I can remember watching Matt play baseball for the Owego Indians and growing up at the fire station with me as well. And he showed a lot of dedication to the department as he moved up through the ranks to the rank of captain. We just went down to help relieve Hurricane Sandy, where he had to take personal time off of work to go down and assist that event. And that just shows his dedication to not only his own community here in Owego, but his community to everybody. I've lived in Owego my whole entire life. I don't ever plan on leaving Owego. I've been there since I was born, and I plan on staying there throughout my whole entire life. That's why I'm dedicated to the Tack County Sheriff's Office, where I'm employed full-time, and I'm also dedicated to my fire department, that I've been there since I was also a baby, learning the ropes of being a volunteer fireman, and I plan on staying there.
Good morning. And first, I'd like to thank the Red Cross for organizing such a unique event and such an inspiring event for all of us here today. On behalf of all the employees at NYCM Insurance, we want to thank you, Dan, for your devotion to protecting and serving your community. You are a true hero that has seen your friends and family pay the ultimate price. That you continue to answer the call of duty. And for that, I'm eternally grateful for you and all the volunteer and paid members of the fire service. Thank you.
Lieutenant Gavin, the team at Ad Elements couldn't be more proud of the rescue efforts that you are being honored for here today. You have undoubtedly had to endure more in a short period in your life than anyone should have to in a lifetime. It is clear that the character you exude and the selfless acts you provide every day by helping family, friends, and your entire community speaks to the incredibly caring and giving person that you are. You truly are the epitome of a real hero, and we are so proud to honor you today and all of our heroes. Congratulations, Lieutenant Dan Gavin, on the Fire Rescue Award, and thank you for your service.
We heard from Jay Price earlier this morning about the destruction that was caused by Superstorm Sandy last fall. While Jay and his team led the response in Manasquan, our next heroes were called to New York City and Westchester County, where they provided much needed help to desperate residents whose homes were destroyed by the devastating storm. The Real Heroes Military Award is presented to a member or members of the armed forces, active or retired, commissioned or non-commissioned, whose life-saving actions exemplify the very highest standards of their calling. For 2013, we are proud to present the military award to the 204th Engineer Battalion of the New York Army National Guard in Binghamton. Presenting the award is Dan Spohr, Vice President and General Manager of Lockheed Martin MS2. Would Sergeant First Class Chris Patala and Dan Spohr please join me at the podium while we watch this video.
My name is Eric Stevens, Major Eric Stevens, with the 204th Engineer Battalion out of Binghamton, New York. 204th Engineer Battalion is a combat engineer battalion. We've got more than one company throughout the state. We've got a vertical engineer company out of Kingston, a horizontal engineer company out of Horseheads. Our headquarters is located right in Binghamton, and we've got an engineer support company out of Buffalo. One of the missions that we're prepared to respond to, any hurricane response effort during hurricane season, but we also prepare for snow removal type missions in the wintertime. So we'll use our engineer equipment the best that we can to respond to each of those situations. We were able to jump from Camp Smith down to New York City with our engineer equipment, and we provided, they were points of distribution. They called them pod sites throughout the city, where we delivered food, water, basic necessities that the citizens needed for their relief. Of course, the power was out in most of the city, so any relief that they needed in immediate services was offered at those pod sites. One story that sticks in my mind is a mission that we got called up for to get the cell towers operational again, because they were all knocked out. The backup power for those cell towers is battery power. So our soldiers were delivering these batteries, over 100 pounds apiece, up several flights of stairs to get to the cell towers and get them back online. Some of the smaller communities, when initially we were at Camp Smith, near Westchester County, and we assisted with the utility crews in removing downed trees so that they could restore the power lines and get the power back up and running. And they didn't have the resources that the city would have. So it was more important, I think, in the smaller communities for us to be able to help out there. I don't think they see themselves as heroes, but the soldiers really are heroes. They leave their full-time jobs to respond to something like this at a moment's notice. And we don't know how long we're going to be on order. You know, in this case, it was 21 days, give or take. So they are heroes.
Good morning. It's my honor to once again represent the excellent men and women of Lockheed Martin and be involved in this great event. It's my privilege to present the military award to Sergeant First Class Chris Atala, who's accepting it on behalf of the 204th for their above and beyond support for the residents of, for the above and beyond support to the residents of New York City and Westchester County during the superstorm that Jay described earlier. It's also fitting that this award be awarded today because May is the National Military Appreciation Award Month. At our facility in Owego, we have about 350 veterans. These are very proud men and women who selflessly serve our nation. I'm extremely pleased that one of our employees, David Young, if you'd stand, David, is with us today. And David's also with the 204th. So what I'd like to do is ask David and the other members of the 204th, please join us up here. When Superstorm Sandy hit the East Coast last October, the 204th Engineering Battalion of the Army National Guard from Binghamton was called into action. The 204th delivered thousands of meals and gallons of water to impacted residents. They aided civilian authorities in ensuring security during the power, gas, water, and food shortages. They delivered batteries to ensure all emergency services maintained communications throughout the city during the extended power outages. They removed thousands of cubic yards of debris from roads, lots, and public areas. They assisted residents of some of the hardest hit areas of the city to start the process of rebuilding their towns. And in Westchester County, the 204th cleared dozens of roads, streams, and other points to restore access for emergency services within the county. What's most impressive about their actions is that they're volunteers. They volunteered to join the National Guard, knowing that they'd put their lives at risk or to serve our country. Today, let us recognize the brave men and women of the Binghamton's 204th and thank them for their service to our country. Their courage and commitment deserves the deepest appreciation and admiration, and for that, I thank you.
Well, as we've seen this morning, there are many heroes among us, and sometimes we don't even know who they are until they save a life. Or sometimes, as is the case with our last hero, we see them every day. You're about to hear the story of a brave 7th grader who rescued his entire family when his house caught on fire. The Real Heroes Youth Good Samaritan Award is presented to an ordinary youth who used life-saving skills to save lives. We are thrilled to conclude our breakfast this morning by presenting the Youth Good Samaritan Award to Demetrius Colvin. Presenting the Youth Good Samaritan Award is Jeff Lake, Regional President, Greater Binghamton, for NBT Bank. Would Demetrius Colvin and Jeff Lake please join me at the podium as we watch Demetrius' story.
My name is Demetrius Colvin. Well, everybody was sleeping except for my little cousin. He's 8 years old. I woke up, there's smoke everywhere. The firefighters came to our school and told us what to do when there was a fire. So I knew what to do and stayed calm. I checked all the rooms to see who was there and who wasn't. Ran upstairs, told my mom. She went downstairs and checked it out. I said, "Mom, do you want me to grab the baby?" She said, "Yeah, grab her." So I grabbed her. While we were going under the smoke, I covered my baby sister's mouth and my little cousin's mouth so they wouldn't get smoke into their lungs. As I was going out, when she said screaming fire, fire, get everybody out, I see my little cousin come out the bathroom. I told him, "Let's go, there's a fire, we need to go downstairs." And then, so we ran downstairs and I told him to go through the front door, but he was afraid, so he just ran to the back door. And I told him to get down, the fire's back here. So we got down under the fire and we went out the back door. I started throwing up afterwards. People think of me as a hero. That makes me feel good because I should do that for my family. Feels like I just did something a normal person should do.
On behalf of the folks at NBT Bank, I'd like to thank the Red Cross for the opportunity to participate in this morning's festivities and recognize these great heroes. And it is my great privilege to introduce you to an exceptional young man. When we were meeting this morning in the room across the way, a young lady approached Demetrius and said, "Hey, are you a hero?" And he said, "No. I'm here to tell you, Demetrius, that there are 250 people here and a couple of thousand across our community who believe that you are. Today's heroes are too often defined in terms of how fast they can run with a football, how well they can shoot a basketball, how hard they can hit a baseball, and all under such great pressure. Well, how about this? How about waking up in the middle of the night, smelling smoke, and in that moment of crisis, having the presence of mind to take the appropriate steps to deliver your family to safety? That's a hero. It is my great honor to give the American Red Cross Real Heroes Award to Demetrius Colvin.
Mom gets together. Mom needs one.
We're going to keep Demetrius up for just one more minute because I know his family is here, so if we could recognize his family as well, and Demetrius as, again, a well-deserved award and a very proud family sitting at it. Now I'd like to ask Stephanie Blodgett, Chair of the Southern Tier Chapter Board of Directors, to return to the podium.
Congratulations once again to our 2013 heroes. Your stories and actions are incredible. You serve as an inspiration to each and every one of us. As we conclude, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our Master of Ceremonies, Jason Weinstein, Executive Producer and Anchor at Fox 40 WICZ TV in Binghamton. We appreciate the extraordinary work that you and your colleagues have done to make this morning so very special. On behalf of the Red Cross, thank you so much. I'd like to ask Shawna to come back to the podium to conclude. Thank you. And I just want to say, as a director, this isn't in my script, but as the director of the board, I just want to say it is really my honor and privilege to serve with all of the people that do such amazing work day in and day out, and the volunteers and the staff that don't get recognized every day for the work that they do. and I'm really honored to be part of the organization. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that helped put this great event together this morning.
We're grateful that all of you have taken the time to be with us this morning. Thank you for joining us for the 4th Annual Real Heroes Breakfast. Thank you, heroes and sponsors, for coming out and joining us today. We really appreciate that. And congratulations, heroes. And we want to thank Jay Price for taking time out of his busy schedule away from his family and his school full of kids to be with us today. Special appreciation goes out to Ad Elements, Terry Burke Audio Visual, photographers Chuck Hout and Rebecca McManus, Chaplain Timothy Miller and the 204th Engineering Battalion, New York Army National Guard, Shivani Greek Yogurt, Clear Channel Media, Curcio Printing, Dunkin' Donuts, Patty Hart and Mason Mastriani, also the Holiday Inn Arena, Huckabone Media Services, Fox 40 WICZ TV Binghamton, Time Warner Cable, Last Parking, the Press and Sun Bulletin, Garland Gallery, Tioga Gardens Florist, USA Athletics, Paul Sweeney of Broome County Celtic Pipes and Drums, and to our Real Heroes National Nominations Committee on all of our wonderful Red Cross volunteers. We thank all of those individuals and those groups for helping us out. This event would not be possible without their assistance. At this time, the color guard from the 204th Engineering Battalion will retire the colors. And now, while the 213 Real Heroes and our sponsors leave the stage, I ask that you remain standing and join me in singing God Bless America.